Hello and welcome to KoKo Language Learning Lounge.
We're glad you're here. I'm Rob.
And I'm Crystal. We are two friends who love to share our journeys and help others grow, especially in the area of English learning.
In today's episode, we are going to share our own personal stories about how our English was not good at all at one point in our lives.
Yes, we both experienced moments when we felt completely defeated, when we couldn't understand simple conversations, when we hesitated to speak, and when we thought maybe we would never get better.
But the good news is we moved past those moments. We improved our English by being determined and using daily habits that helped us make steady progress.
We will talk about the small actions we took every day, like reading short articles, talking with language partners, listening to podcasts, and even keeping simple journals.
We hope that by the end of this episode, you will feel inspired and equipped with practical ideas that you can start using today.
So stick with us until the end. You will hear our stories, our struggles, and our strategies. And you might even find something that resonates with your own experience.
Let's dive in and start with the early days of when we both felt we could not communicate effectively in English. Crystal, do you remember the first time we met in that language exchange group?
Of course, Rob. I remember you shyly introduced yourself.
Yes, and I barely made a sentence without stopping to think. I felt my heart racing and I couldn't catch the words others were saying. It was one of the hardest days of my life.
You struggled a lot, but you kept going.
I did, but I nearly quit. Back then, my English was so limited that I could only say things like, I go store or she is teacher. I could not form a real sentence. I felt frustrated and embarrassed.
That sounds so familiar. I recall when I moved to an English speaking country for the first time.
Yes, that huge culture shock, right?
Exactly. I remember entering a coffee shop and trying to order. I stuttered, "Can I have coffee black, please?" The barista looked at me puzzled, and I almost cried right there.
That must have been hard.
It was heartbreaking. I felt so small and powerless. I started to think maybe I made the wrong decision to study abroad.
Yet you did not give up.
No, but there were days I wanted to give up. I felt defeated. I thought maybe I am just not made for this. But then I realized small steps matter. I started very small routine habits, and that changed everything.
For me, the turning point came when I decided to journal every morning.
Tell us more about that.
I bought a simple notebook and wrote just 3 sentences per day. At first, I wrote things like, Today I woke up early. I ate breakfast. I went to work. Not impressive, but it was consistent.
That's powerful. Those small habits are so underrated.
After a few weeks, I noticed I could write a little more. I could add the weather was sunny and I felt happy. It gave me confidence.
Then you added speaking practice?
Yes, I did. I used an app and joined online conversation groups such as voice chat or Zoom meetups. At first, I just listened. I repeated key phrases after the speaker. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. It felt silly, but it helped me loosen up.
I started with listening too. I took a bus to work and listened to short news segments every morning. They were only 5 minutes long.
That's great. How did you finish that routine?
Then I talked to my roommate in English only after lunch. We called it English lunch. We would set a small timer for 15 minutes, and we had to speak only English.
A timer. That is simple but effective.
Exactly. It became a habit. Let me give you an example. One afternoon, I felt shy and tried to switch to my native language. But then our timer went off, and I thought, no, English only. So I forced myself to speak English, even if I had to say simple things like, today I cooked rice and vegetables. It was tasty. The more I did it, the less scary it became.
That resonates with me. After 2 months, I realized I could hold a 5-minute conversation without stopping to translate.
That is huge progress. And what about reading?
I started reading children's short stories. For example, I read a simple story about a boy who planted a seed. The vocabulary was basic: seed, plant, water, sun. After reading, I wrote my own version. I planted a flower in a pot. I watered it every day and it grew tall. It felt amazing.
That's a perfect example of using daily habits to build confidence. I also did something similar. I wrote a short diary entry every night about my day in English. It was only 4 or 5 sentences at first, but over time I could write a full page describing emotions and thoughts.
And then grammar improved naturally.
Yes, grammar became less scary when I wrote every day. Mistakes didn't feel shameful, they felt like clues guiding my improvement.
A friend once told me, Rob, your grammar might not be perfect, but you can communicate clearly. That is what matters. That motivated me a lot.
Exactly. Real communication over perfect grammar.
I remember presenting at work in English after 6 months of these habits. I was nervous, but I prepared by journaling the main points and practicing out loud every morning. It went well.
That's wonderful. I also experienced a breakthrough moment when I talked to a taxi driver in English during a trip. I had to explain where I wanted to go, ask him to wait, and thank him all in English. I thought, I am doing this. I am really able to communicate.
Those moments are priceless.
They are. Let me share one more daily habit that helped I read labels on food in English every time I cooked. I would read ingredients, instructions, and even small brand slogans.
That is brilliant. All these small exposures add up.
Yes. So the two of us, through journaling, reading short texts, listening, speaking with partners, labels gradually overcame that feeling of defeat. Now, I want to go deeper into my personal story, Rob.
Please do.
When I arrived in the city, I could not understand the bus announcements. The voices sounded like gibberish. I felt isolated.
You looked so lost that day.
Yes, I boarded a bus by mistake and ended up in the wrong neighborhood. I didn't know how to ask the driver to drop me off. I felt tears coming to my eyes.
That's heartbreaking.
But later I realized I needed a plan. I couldn't just rely on classes or apps. I needed real life practice and small habits to build muscle memory.
What habits did you choose first?
I started with word of the day. I picked a physical calendar and wrote a new English word every morning. I made a sentence with it each day. For example, today's word is challenge. Learning English is a challenge, but I will enjoy it. It changed my mindset.
The change in mindset is so important.
Absolutely. It turned struggle into adventure. Then I started a speaking routine. Every day after dinner, I gave myself a 1 minute speech in front of the mirror. Sometimes I talked about my day, other times I pretended to introduce myself to a friend.
That mirror practice is very powerful.
Yes, at first I felt silly. I stumbled over words. But after 2 weeks, I could speak fluently for 1 minute without pausing or translating in my head.
Do you remember any specific sentence from that time?
Yes, I said, "Hello, my name is Crystal. I come from South Korea. I moved here to study and improve my English. I enjoy exploring new places and meeting people." It felt simple, but it was a victory for me.
That is great.
Another daily habit was question of the day. I wrote a question on a sticky note each morning, like, "What is your favorite movie?" Or, "How do you relax after work?" Whenever I had a chance, I asked someone and listened to the answers.
That must have taken a lot of courage at first.
It did, but the more I asked, the more comfortable I became. And then I noticed people responded positively. They appreciated my curiosity.
That creates positive feedback loops.
Exactly. Let me share a little example. One day I asked my coworker, "What kind of music do you like?" She answered, "I like jazz." Then I replied, "I have never listened to jazz. Can you recommend a song?" She looked delighted and recommended a song, Take Five.
That conversation sounds so natural and human.
That is the beauty of daily habits. You start with small conversations and build deeper connections.
You also used reading subtitled shows, right?
Yes, I picked short YouTube clips on cooking or travel, played them with English subtitles, and repeated one sentence I liked. For example, "Life is short. Eat the cake." That phrase stuck with me and made me laugh when I used it later.
Nice. Did you use any offline methods?
Yes, I wrote flashcards by hand. On one side, I wrote the English word on the other side, a simple doodle to represent the meaning. I reviewed them whenever I had a minute waiting in line, riding the bus before sleep.
Handwriting helps memory.
It does. And the doodles made it fun. I remember drawing a tiny cake next to the word delicious.
That is creative.
Through these habits, word of the day, mirror speech, question of the day, flashcards, I gradually turned fear into enjoyment. My English improved steadily.
Crystal, let's share some tips for listeners who feel stuck and overwhelmed.
Yes. Tip 1, keep it small. Don't try to learn 10 new words a day. Try one or two.
Tip 2, integrate English into daily routines. Label household items, read instructions, or listen to a 5-minute clip while making coffee.
Tip 3, speak out loud. Even if it is just one sentence in front of a mirror, it builds confidence and muscle memory.
Tip 4, be curious. Ask questions to people around you. Conversations open doors to language learning and connection.
Tip 5, track your progress. Keep a weekly log of what you did, what you read, listened to, wrote, spoke. Seeing progress on paper, no matter how small, boosts motivation.
And tip 6, be kind to yourself. Mistakes are part of the journey. Embrace them.
Yes. Remember when I wrote, "I am interested in cooking" instead of "I am interested in cooking"? I laughed when I saw it. But that mistake helped me learn and never forget the correct form.
That's a perfect example. They say making mistakes is essential to learning, and it really is true.
Listeners, here is a small exercise for you. Try one of these 3 daily practices this week. Write a one sentence diary entry in English each morning or night. Speak one complete sentence out loud in front of a mirror. Ask someone a simple question in English, like, "How are you?" Or what did you do today?
Pick one habit and do it consistently for a week. You might be surprised at how much improvement you feel.
And please come back and tell us how it went in our next episode.
Thanks for joining us on KoKo Language Learning Lounge. We'll be back soon with another episode.
Until then, take care and happy learning.